Hello lovelies, we are back in the Philippines today with another exhumation video. Now, if you didn't see the first video, let me just remind everybody that in the Philippines, you do not own your burial plot or niche, or as they call them, apartments. They are leased or rented for 5 years, and at the end of that 5-year period, you have the option of either paying again and getting another 5 years, restarting the clock, or they will exhume you and put you in a bag, and either your family can come claim you and either have you cremated or buried somewhere else, or if no one comes to claim you, you will end up in either an ossuary or a potter's field. And then after enough other unclaimed people are amassed, they will go ahead and open up a pit basically and bury everyone in mass in that potter's field. Also, if anybody has watched the first exhumation video that I posted with the little 7-year-old boy named Jethro, this is not the same cemetery and these are not the same gentlemen. It is still in the Philippines and it is still north of Manila, but like I said, different group of people in a different cemetery. I've been doing some research and I was trying to find out how often this occurs. Is this something that is more on the rare end, or is this something that is a constant? Now, I wasn't able to find specific totals as in how many people in the Philippines are exhumed daily, monthly, by the year, so on and so forth. What I did find was information on a specific cemetery in the Philippines, in Manila proper, and they have space for 5,000 decedents. And of that 5,000, this past year, 2024, they exhumed roughly 800. Of those 800 that were exhumed for non-payment, only 100 had been claimed by their family and removed to greener pastures. The rest had all been unclaimed and were sitting basically in a warehouse that they had on site, and they kept them in that warehouse for anywhere up to a year, depending on how long it took them to fill the warehouse. And then when the warehouse was at capacity, that's when they opened up another potter's field, and they would move everyone from the warehouse into that potter's field, bury them, and it would start all over again. And that number seemed huge to me. It seemed astronomical. But then I started to think, you have 5,000 people. If you break that up, by every 5 year, like in increments, maybe divide it by 5. And yeah, roughly 1,000 people are up for renewal every year. And of that, apparently, the average of 200 are able to pay and stay, and the rest of them are removed. And of that, a very small fraction, families come to claim them and do something else with them. The rest are just kind of forgotten, and I find that incredibly sad. Now, as far as the prices for the apartments or niches or plots, whatever you prefer to call them, they run the gamut, as all things real estate tend to. I tried to convert it from Filipino pesos to American USD, and what it came out to is on the very low end for the indigent cemeteries, the public cemeteries, you could start off with maybe about $120, $150 USD, and then run the gamut, go all the way up to just extravagant, expensive private cemeteries. But again, what all of these cemeteries, whether they're public, private, for the indigent or the very wealthy, what they all have in common is that you are going to rent that plot for 5 years, and at the end of that 5 years, your options are either to renew and pay that fee over again, plus any additional charges, or you will be exhumed rather unceremoniously, as you're seeing right now. Now, as you've been watching, I'm sure you guys have noticed that they're not wearing any kind of proper PPE. They do have some sort of masks on. They are wearing gloves, but those gloves aren't vinyl or nitrile or latex. They appear to just be regular gardening gloves. And while they were doing their hammering and sending chips of concrete and cement flying through the air, none of them were wearing any kind of safety glasses, even though this gentleman does have sunglasses, which, although aren't safety glasses, would have given a little bit more reassurance as far as shards flying directly at his eyeballs. Also, as you're looking around and they're panning around from left to right, I want you to notice that this cemetery is in an awful state. There are just heaps and heaps of trash everywhere. There's a trash heap directly behind this gentleman in the yellow shirt who's holding up Joshua's skull for us to see right now. And it is actually taller than he is. And I know it's cultural and I don't want to offend anybody, but like, I can't keep thinking, what gall do you have to ask someone to pay repeatedly over and over and over again for the same little plot of land, little 2 foot by 2, like 2 foot square that they're taking up, when you are doing zero to keep the property up? It's disgusting. They're throwing remains, they're throwing decomposition, they're throwing biohazard filled cloths and anything you could imagine just onto the ground where people are walking. And once again, you have the nerve to ask these families, to demand of these families that they pay repeatedly over and over and over again these fees that are being used for what? I mean, maybe someone who lives or is from that culture or from the Philippines could explain to me what it is you're getting for the repeated payment of that fee, that lease. I could understand the first time, maybe the opening and closing fees, but after that, someone please do explain it to me, because I don't understand. Also, if you noticed at the beginning of the video, there were 2 other occupants of this apartment along with Joshua. So family members, close friends, some kind of relations, and they were removed and just tossed to the side. And now as they were removing Joshua, I have a question for the more knowledgeable members of our viewing population, because I know we've got medical examiners, we've got doctors, we've got attorneys, we've got anthropologists. Y'all run the gamut and you're so much more knowledgeable than I am. I've never seen a rib cage split like that before, unless it was after a post-mortem. So if anybody can give me any different information, please post it in the comments below, because like I said, I've never seen anything look that way unless they split the ribs because they were doing a full post-mortem examination. But you guys are way more knowledgeable than me, so let me know in the comments below if I'm incorrect or if I am correct, or any other opinions you may have. Also, if you will notice with our dearly departed Joshua, although he is largely skeletonized, just like our sweet 7-year-old Jethro was in the former video, he seems to be a little bit more solid, where Jethro was literally like skeletonized and coming apart. I don't want to be too graphic, but if you're watching this, then you understand. He was in pieces. Now, poor Joshua here was snapped apart at the waist, it appears, but he's largely mummified more than skeletonized. So again, they're both in the Philippines, they're both north of Manila, so I'm not sure what the difference would be. There's also, if you're looking, a lot less insect inclusion in Joshua's crypt, his apartment, than Jethro's. Jethro's, you could tell that there had been insects in it from day one. This one appears to have far, far less of that. So I'm not sure if maybe that has something to do with why Jethro was so much more skeletonized and Joshua seems a little bit more mummified. Again, if anybody has more knowledge, I would love to know. I have gone through rabbit hole after rabbit hole and haven't been able to find a reason for it exactly. I'm going to make another video with the gentleman from the first cemetery, the ones who removed Jethro, and talk about that insect inclusion and what I believe those insects to be. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But right now, as you can see, if you can look around, that trash heap that I was talking about is taller than the gentleman who is removing Joshua from his niche. And there's actually a gentleman sitting on top of it. And as they're handing him bits and pieces of Joshua's casket, he's literally throwing it on top of the other apartments. So basically, if you're in that penthouse apartment that's behind him, that they're throwing that casket, that trash, that decomposition, just flinging it on top of your penthouse apartment, and no cares given. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me until the end, and I hope to have another one of these out for you shortly. Love you.